Alright folks, here we are. Today we're going to do a part 2 of canning. We're going to can some deer meat here that a buddy of mine harvested back in the fall season. We're going to cut it up in about 1-inch chunks and can it that way when we're out camping. We can don't have to have a cooler with us. We can keep it without any need of refrigeration. But first thing we're going to do here is cut this meat up into little 1-inch chunks. I use a Rapala electric fillet knife to cut up my deer meat with. You can get the silver seam off of it pretty easy. You can cut the fat out real easy. Speaking of fat, I have got a little container here of fat that I cut off of the meat. I'm going to use it to boil down on real low heat to get the talon out of it, and I'm going to put it in a little jar and use it to lubricate my patches for muzzle loading. You can also use it to rub on your gun parts a little bit to keep them from seizing up or rusting up in rainy weather or real cold weather. But we'll do a video on that later. We're going to do a part 3 video if it'll be the Lord's will sometime around maybe September or October, canning out of the garden. But we're using the jars that I showed you me emptying out earlier in the season, so let's cut this up a little bit, so y'all stay tuned. Alright, we're fixing to get our jars out of the stove. Gotta get my pot holder. We stuck them in there to let them warm up. Yeah, those are good and hot. So let's set them there. We have got our meat cut up now. So let's get us a jar. And you don't put any water in these jars. The recipe I'm going by doesn't call for any water. But let's put some few chunks of meat in here. We're going to leave a 1-inch head space because this meat will produce its own juices. The only seasoning that's going to go into these jars is going to be salt, which I have right here. In the pint jars I'll put maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of salt in. I think for the quart jars it calls for a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half, something of that nature. But one more piece ought to do that. Okay, let me rinse my hands off here so I don't get deer meat all over my jars. Okay, we'll take this here. We'll make sure, yes, that's 1-inch head space. We'll take this, we're going to stick it down in the jar and kind of push like so to get all of the air bubbles that we can anyway. You can hear some of them working out of there. All of the air bubbles that we can out. Okay, we'll put us a couple more pieces of meat in this jar now, just to kind of top it off a little bit. I do know one thing. This is going to taste real good laying out camping this spring or summer, either fishing or turkey hunting, or even this September while we're in the early part of deer season bow hunting, if it'll be the Lord's will. There we go. Get the last of those air bubbles worked out. And we will put this is a 1/4 teaspoon measure here. We'll put 1, 2 in there. And that's got that done. I've got my lids over there on the stove preheating, and I'm going to set this jar to the side, do my other jars, and then we'll stick them in the pressure canner, so y'all stay tuned. Alright, we got our meat in the jars here. Got all the large air bubbles out that we could get out. We're going to wipe the tops of them off a little bit with just a damp paper towel. I'll wipe this one off here. We just done a small portion of a deer shoulder just to kind of get the idea of what we're doing here. We haven't really ever canned any meat before, so this is going to be our first attempt at it, so I guess you all are going to get to see it just as it happens. We got our lids right here. They are already preheated. Take our rings, put them on, screw them down, and you don't have to make sure it's not cross-threaded. You don't have to put the He-Man to it or nothing like that. Just screw them on. Just, you know, finger tight, because once they come out of the pressure canner, they're going to be plenty tight enough. Again, these are the jars you've seen in part 1 of my video that belong to my mamaw that she used for canning. Some of them's probably 40 or 50 years old, but that don't mean anything. They still work, but we're going to step over here to the pressure canner. You'll be canning, put them in, put the lid on, and as soon as it starts, the weight on top of the lid starts rocking, we'll set a timer, and we're going to cook them for somewhere around, let's say an hour to an hour and 10 or 15 minutes, something other like that. We do have to add a little more water because we don't hardly have enough. So we're going to go ahead and put this water in. You need to have at least an inch of water. That looks pretty good. They're all covered. Little piece of deer hair in there. Get that out. They're all covered. I was potentially going to do 4 jars, but my meat ran out. So we'll take the lid, set it on, tighten her down, turn the heat up to medium high until that weight starts rocking. Once the weight starts rocking, then we will turn the heat down to medium. Let it cook for about an hour and 10 minutes, 15, something other like that, and we'll open up the pressure canner when the steam is relieved and see if what it looks like. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this little short video here. I'm not going to keep you all day, but I've got a friend of mine fixing to come up. He's been at the Pay Lake today catfishing, and I think he's caught 2 tickets full, which here at the Pay Lake he's fishing at would be 10 fish. He's going to bring them up, and we're going to skin them out this evening, and maybe if the weather will cooperate and it don't start raining, we can build us a fire outside. We're going to do us a little bit of campfire cooking. So I hope y'all enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the end results. Alright folks, as you can probably hear here, our pressure canner's working. We got 34 minutes left on it, and we should have some very good tasty canned deer meat. I'll do the finished product video, the first camping trip we take, which will probably be somewhere around April for turkey season, but I hope y'all enjoyed this. Again, it wasn't a how-to video or anything, it's just my first time trying canning meat, but my buddy called me, said that he was on his way over, so we're going to flay out them catfish and maybe have a catfish and chips dinner tonight. But I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope y'all have a great day or a great night, whichever this may be when you're watching it, and God bless, and stay tuned for more videos. And again, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to my page.